This is the last Sunday school class on the gift of years, or the gift of tears, however you want to say it. But the gift of years. So I thought we'd just do a little summary, maybe talk about a few takeaways, and then we'll get into it. I just have a few words, and then Becky, Lanier, is going to make a short presentation, and then after that we're going to do a little exercise together as a class, which I think will be extraordinarily fun. Right? There you go. So, no, we're not doing that. So in general, we've talked about this period of life as elders as being sort of we can look at it as a unique time and a unique opportunity for all of us to flourish, if you will. And of course, that's been the sermon series also, how to flourish. And so that's kind of what we're talking about in this class, is how do we flourish as elders when we have a lot more opportunity now, in my opinion, to do that, because we don't have all the other constrictions of life, imposing on us, going to work and what have you and stuff. So it's a good time. And so our little exercise, and so the question is, where do we go from here? I guess that's right. So it's been very helpful for me just to work on this and study it, because I've learned a lot myself, and then learned a lot from listening to you all. So it's been good for me. But the question then is, where do we go from here? And what the purpose of our little exercise that we're going to do at the end is to maybe give you some ideas how to go forward. We're going to develop sort of a spiritual bucket list, if you will. And we're going to do it pretty much anonymously. I got, like enough handouts for everybody to look at them, and it's a one-page deal. You just got to answer 6 questions anonymously, and there's not going to be anything on there that would give away your identity, unless David says something like, "My goal is to help Janice do that," or something. Then we'll kind of get the idea.
Put that together, would you?
What you would? So
That's why you're the teacher.
that's why I'm the teacher, and so the question is, where do we go? And the guidelines, again, we look to the Beatitudes, and this one is, or the Sermon on the Mount, and this is the famous passage where Jesus says that you are the salt of the earth. And, he's talking about the people he was talking to, but it applies to us. So we are the salt of the earth, right? And we are the light of the world. And so the idea is for us to let our light shine, if you will, and be salty, and see what we can, see how we can, see what we can do, in this time. And so these kind of give the guideline. We're trying to find ways to get in touch with what our own unique gifts are, if you will, and then, because I think, generally speaking, you're going to want to do things or think about things that comport with your gifts. I mean, I'm not going to become any kind of service person, because I just can't do that, But I can't, whatever. But I got to do other stuff. But so you got to figure out what you want to do, and it's not going to be a to-do list per se. I mean, it's sort of like I call it a bucket list, but we're trying to stay away from to-dos and accomplishing things. It's more a state of mind that we're trying to get into, if you will, and then be open to where the Spirit leads us. And the other big thing is that, forever when I was younger, I guess we all think we're going to change the world in some way. I mean, I didn't really think about that much, but I was, very much the idealist. I was wanting to do, fix things, whatever, and it's we don't have to think in terms even that big anymore. You know, in fact, it's better to think about small. You know, what small thing can I do? And Pastor Stephen had a sermon about it maybe a couple months ago about finding the small things, and I thought that was a very powerful message because I think that's where we can make a difference in the small things, not necessarily big things. And so you look at, for instance, the story of, you know, the feeding of the 5,000, right? And so that starts out where Jesus is preaching to all these people. They say 5,000. There's probably more because they weren't counting women as part of the 5,000. So maybe say 10,000 people, and so he then asks my namesake Philip, you know, and of course he gives the wrong answer. Makes sense, but he says, where am I going to get how am I going to serve all these people? How am I going to feed on? And Philip says, well, we don't have enough money to get this kind of food. But then Andrew says, you know, here's some, was it 3 loaves? I always forget, 3 loaves and 4 fishes, or 4 loaves and 3 fishes. And then, you know, Jesus feeds the whole crowd with that. So it was a small thing, really, that Andrew did. And it was kind of interesting, too, because it really wasn't Andrew's bread and fish to give, but it was his kids. But anyway, he took it. Anyway, so that's kind of the idea. And
wait a minute. So he stole the loaves and fishes?
He stole the loaves and fishes. Yeah, yeah. This is, you know, we're on the edge here, Nick. but I'll tell you a quick story that really taught me about the small things, and it goes back to my former life as a slaving lawyer, and so as lawyers, the state bar always encourages everybody to do pro bono work, right? And so 9 times out of 10, you end up doing divorce work for people who can't afford lawyers, and that was fine, except after a while it just got really old for me, and I got some people that were, I don't know, doing crazy stuff. You know, they were committing fraud, they were stealing money. I go, oh man, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I got to find something else. So I finally got this. The bar, or the association, gave me this work to do for this woman over in East Austin named Lorraine. And she needed to get guardianship of her mother so she could be eligible to receive her checks from the government for disability, Social Security, whatever, and then deposit them. And so I said, well, I can do that. You know, that sounds pretty clean. And so I set about doing it, and I was working diligently, but it should have taken maybe 3 months, I don't know, 3.5, because we had to do some notices. It took me a year, right? It took me a whole year, because I'd put it at the edge of the desk, and I'd be working on like paying client stuff first, you know, and then I'd think about it, and I'd do it anyway. So it took me forever, and I finally got it done. And I didn't know that this bar association actually sent evaluation forms to the clients, right? And so then they send me a copy of her evaluation. I'm, oh, okay. And it says, did you, wait a minute, I got to back up. That's not, I missed the main part of the story. So before I do all that, I go to meet them. They come to the office, right? And I say, I'll come to you, because I know you can't move around very well, but they said they'd come to the office. So they come to my office up on the 150th floor, wherever it was, and they get up there, and they come to the lobby. They're in the lobby, and so I go out to meet them, right, to greet them. And I see one youngish-looking woman over on the left, because there was a chair over there, and then there's older woman on her right, or on her left, over to the right. And the older woman was you know, fully, you know, ensconced in this chair. You know, she was just stuck, and then she had these crutches, you know, that you fasten to your arms and stuff. And she was carrying around a lot of weight, and so I walk out there and I say, oh, I go to the young girl. I say, oh, you must be, Lorraine Johnson. And she goes, no, that's my mother over there. I go, say what? And so I go, I talk to Lorraine. I say, well, who are you getting guardianship of? And she says, of my mother. I go, oh my gosh. Well, it turns out I actually been to go over to their house once, twice to visit, and her mother was just like 95 and totally comatose in a bed. I don't know what it was, but she was, anyway, she required all sorts of work, right? And I'm trying to think, how can this woman do it? And so anyway, she gets guardianship now, and I get that done, and so now I'm looking at the evaluation form. And it says, did you meet with your lawyer? Yes. Did he understand, or he or she understand the problem? Yes. Did you get it resolved? Yes. Did your lawyer get this done in a reasonable amount of time? I go, oh man, what's this going to say? So I flip over the page. I'm expecting, I'm going to be called out for the slum dog that I am, right? And Lorraine writes on there, I think Mr. Haig got to this just as soon as he could. Oh man.
Got some grace.
That is total grace, and and just this woman was just full of love, and she didn't have a mean bone in her body, and she had nothing, and I was really touched, and I mean that was 20 years ago. I still remember it to this day, how little things can make a big difference. You just never know by what you say to one person can change things around. So now Becky Lanier is going to just take a few minutes and kind of talk about a little bit of how she is doing things as she approaches being an elder.
Okay, so I have a cheat sheet because I'm getting old. I turned 80 in December, and my short-term memory is pretty bad. So I wanted to make sure that I had in front of me what I wanted to say to you today. First of all, I'd like to thank Phil and Stacy for having this class. It has been wonderful to me to learn how to manage something that I have to go through and that I really don't want to. So I appreciate it. I've been struggling with aging. It seems like that's kind of, you're old when you start aging. I have been so healthy for most of my life. I had polio when I was 2 years old. My parents thought, oh my goodness, she's going to have things wrong with her the rest of her life. I never got sick or had anything wrong with me after that. So I'm very, very grateful for the fact that I have been able to get to this part of my life with very few bad incidences or occurrences in my life. I'm learning to try to stay calm. There are things that I can't do. I have short-term memory problems, just sporadically. It's not real bad yet, but I'm trying to accept it. But I have found it hard, and I think it's because I was so healthy and everything happened so well for me prior. I don't have the instruments or whatever to ease into it and say, this is okay, you're 80, this is the way it's going to be. I'm working on that really hard. And I decided that I would go back a few years to see how I have gotten to this point where I'm willing to stand in front of a bunch of people and talk about what's happening. We moved here from Monroe, Louisiana 16 years ago. And before we moved, I was very involved in the Presbyterian Church in Monroe. It was kind of a small church, probably a third of the size of this church. So you knew everybody. Everybody had a job to do, and it was great. But all of a sudden, after a time, I decided it was time for me to drop out of church. I didn't think I was getting what I wanted to out of church. So I told my pastor, and we had a fairly new pastor about the time I was thinking about this. And he and I were developing a pretty good relationship. So I told him, I said, if I'm not here, it's because I'm going to try something different. And then Katrina happened. So this was in 2005, and I'm sure a lot of you remember it. And a lot of the people from New Orleans and the little small areas around New Orleans were bused up to Louisiana, to different places in Louisiana. And so they were asking for volunteers to come and help with these people. So they put them in the Coliseum, they had bedding, and had food for them. And so they needed lots of help for people to talk to them, to find out what they need or whatever. And so I volunteered to do it, and I went down there, and I did my thing with these people and heard their stories, and it just completely changed my life. So after my part was done, I got in the car and drove to the Presbyterian church. Unfortunately, the pastor was in his office. And I went in there, and his name was Allison, I'll never forget it. I said, Allison, we've got to go to New Orleans. We've got to go help these people. Their houses are underwater. The situation is terrible. I've talked to all these women and men who are don't even know how they're going to recover from this. And so I heard there's going to be opportunity for people to come and help them muck out their houses so that they can start over again. And I said, I think our church should do that. And he said, that's fine. I agree with you. And he said, I have a phone number from someone who's responsible for setting this up if different churches want to come and help these people. He said, I've got the phone number right here, and I'll give it to you. And I said, oh, no, I'm not calling. And he looked at me, and he says, I can tell by looking at your face that God has spoken to you. That's why you're standing in front of me right now. God didn't ask me to do it. God has asked you to do it. Here's the telephone number. So I took the telephone. I did call. And so we formed a team at our church. And it's one of the best things that ever happened in my life. We went back for 2.5 years. My pastor continually put me in charge. He would not let me back up. And I kept saying, please, and he said, and I said, you're seeing something in me that I'm not sure is there. He said, I'm right and you're wrong. But then after about 2.5, we went back for 2.5 years. And it continued on probably for 4 to 5 years, helping these people get back in their homes or move to a different place. And so after 2.5 years, our son calls us and said, Mom, I know you and Dad were talking about moving sometime soon. Because he said, your grandchildren are here, our only 2 grandchildren. Could you and Dad possibly move here within the next year? And you can't say no to that. So we said, yes, we'll be there. So we moved here, and I missed my church so much. I didn't start looking for a church here. I just couldn't do it. My heart was in Monroe. And I'm not sure how long that lasted. I'd say 4 or 5 months probably. And I felt bad. I would sit down and say, it's time to go start looking at Presbyterian churches. But I just couldn't make myself do it. And so one afternoon, what I used to do to try to get over this, I would go sit on our back porch. We live on the golf course in Lakeway. And so there's all these pretty trees, all this greenery. And so I would sit there and talk to God and pray, please let me make the right decision about a church. Help me find a church. But I'm not sure I'm ready for it yet. And about that time, this little robin comes down from a tree and just starts swirling around me. And one of the guys who spoke earlier said the same thing happened to him. And he was just tweeting away. And so I said, okay, God, I get it. You want me to move. You want me to go to church. So that was really the impetus for me to start looking for a church. And so I went to I went to several churches, I think, to look around before I came here. And I still hadn't made up my mind what I wanted to do. So I came to this church and went into the parlor. And I'm trying to think, I don't know what year this was. But so I went into the parlor and just looked around, saw the parlor, and then there's the room back behind it. I have short-term memory, I don't know what it was called. But, and there were lots of people in there, and there was a little sign up by the door to go into that back room. And so I was standing there reading the sign, and it said Contemplative Christianity. And I thought, well, I've never heard of that. And then this nice young man walks up to me, and his name is Phil Haig.
Well, this was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was, Nick. It was.
Okay, let me see. So that's right. I'm finishing this page. So Phil gave me lots of information. I asked him what this did, what it was all about, and he invited me to come to the class. He said, come on in and sit and see what you think. Did God send Phil to me? Absolutely. I just knew once I sat down there, the fact that he had come over and had a conversation with me, I knew this is the church I needed to go to. And so I went to the contemplative class for years until that was over. I volunteered. I've done lots of things in the church since we have lived here. And I have struggled at times. And the struggling has been when people show up for me. We all have struggles in our life, no matter what we were doing. And I gained so much from that class that it just, like I said, it just changed my life. And so now that I'm in the last part of my life, since I'm 80, I'm not sure I want to live to 90 maybe. I have developed a way for me to get through the issues of aging and things that bother me. And I learned this from that class. And centering prayer has been at the focus of this for me. I had never heard of it, never heard of contemplative Christianity until I came to this church. And it has been a huge part of my life. And now that I'm getting older, it's getting up to be a bigger part of my life. So what I have done, we have a guest room. I go to the guest room as soon as I get up in the morning. And I do the contemplative Christianity, and I do the prayer. You know, you pray for 20 minutes. It's not enough now. I have to sit there longer. I am praying more and more, but I think because of my aging, and sometimes I feel pretty helpless. Like, what is this? What am I supposed to do? And so I thought, who knows better than God what I need to do? So I'm spending more than 20 minutes. And then I usually go eat breakfast and I wait a while, and then I go for a walk. I was a PE teacher back in my younger days. I was a runner at one time, and I love outdoor activity. So the walking, and I was doing the walking before all of this happened with me. But once I was connected through centering prayer, it just kind of turned things around. And so and then I go walk. I'll get back to that. I go walk after breakfast, after I've digested my breakfast. And I go anywhere from 2 to 4 miles. And I walk alone. And some of my neighbors evidently feel sorry for me because I'm by myself. And several of them, and I'll see them, they'll be outside when I'm walking, and they'll say, "Why are you okay? Don't you have somebody to walk with?" And my answer has become, I do. It's God. And they just kind of laugh and say, "Oh, okay, go ahead and go along." They don't join me. So this has become so precious to me. Because, and sometimes I talk out loud. A lot of it goes through my head, but sometimes I just need to get loud to make sure he understands the problems that I have. And if somebody walks by me and I'm talking, I don't care. This is what God has led me to do, and it has completely changed my life. I wouldn't give anything for it. And thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful, thank you. And I agree with your pastor from Monroe. You got a big heart. So this next deal is we're going to pass out these worksheets. Don't be intimidated. They're really quite simple. There's only 9 questions, and so we're going to go through them. I got pencils and paper, or pencils up here somewhere, and oh yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. And so here, and we're going to go through these and just fill them out, as best you can. Don't spend a lot of time on any one question because we have just a few minutes to do it, maybe 5 minutes or so. Okay. And then we're going to then I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to pick them all up, shuffle them up, and redistribute them so you get somebody else's randomly. And then we're going to share what the answers are, and so you won't have you won't feel any reason not to share because it's not yours. These are the questions this is just what I wrote down on the page. So that's just so you can see it if you want to look up here. But take a few minutes, and then we'll share, and I think you'll understand. I think you'll understand the very last question, but we'll talk about that first after we get done here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started out. If you wouldn't mind, if you have to finish up, go ahead and finish up. But if you're done, could you pass them to the center, if you would? And Stacy's going to make a few comments here about announcements about upcoming events this summer. But before she does that, I just wanted I wanted everybody to kind of have an opportunity to, in item number 10, to write down one thing that you're very grateful for Stacy about, and so. And then I'm going to collect them all, and I'll just give them to Stacy, and she can read the back. But I just want to say a word, though, because you know, Stacy is retiring, what, in August, right?
September.
September?
It keeps getting pushed.
I thought it was August.
Get the year right.
This year. And Stacy, you know, we all know, but I think it needs to be said, she has been, you know, a rock in our church. What's the word, cellulose? Is it, you know, like the glue that holds things together, life together? Is that what it is? Cellulose, I don't know what it is. Somebody told me that, I don't know what it is. But she's like the glue that holds the church together and has been for 8 years. And you know, 10.
Don't short her 2 years, Bill.
I'm just doing a great job here, aren't I?
You've been telling everyone 8.
No, but it's true, so we all owe a real debt of gratitude to Stacy for all that she's done. As an example, it was kind of my idea to do this elder class, and I asked Stacy about it. I had no idea that she was going to retire, and she said yes. And then I found out that she would help. Then I found out that she's retiring. I'm going, man, you don't want to. Why do you want to do that? You know, you're on your final leg around the, you know, the track. So you should be just taking a lap, you know. But anyway, she did it, and what a job she did. And so, as always, you know, the resident scholar really, and puts it together a nice deal. So, thank you, Stacy. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is give you guys an opportunity to thank Phil for all the work that he's done. It's all badly coordinated, but that's okay. It is such a joy when someone comes and says, I feel a call, this is something I feel like doing, and I always know that that's of God, and so what a wonderful gift you've given us, Phil. Thank you. It's been a great way to end this. We call this a program year, even though most of us aren't in school anymore. This is the end of the program year for the life of the church. So let me just tell you a little bit about what's coming up. Next Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, it is our kind of tradition. I don't know when we started this, but somewhere in the last 10 years, that we go down to one worship service on Memorial Day weekend. And so there will only be one service. It will be at 11 o'clock next week. And no Sunday school will be had for children, youth, or adults. There will be no classes. Summer Sunday school starts the following week, which is May 31st. A little weird that summer starts in May, but that's the way that works. And there are going to be 2 offerings this summer. Starting on the 31st of May in this room, a wonderful all summer long study on Max Lucado's book called Unshakable Hope. Mike Hussery has chosen it, and we're going to have different facilitators every week. It is a wonderful, some of us have read the book before, wonderful study. And so again, each week is a different topic, but it'll be very easy for you to drop in and out for that class in here, and I thank you, Mike. And then a second class, Contemplative Christianity class in room 202, will be meeting. But Janice has invited me to join her. So starting on the 13th of June, she and I will be working together on a really wonderful book by Diana Butler Bass called Grounded. And so if you are new to reading spiritual writings, new to contemplative thought, this is a great way to jump in a couple of weeks during this summer and find out what it's about, and to do a little practice of contemplative prayer. So those are the 2 offerings for the summer. That'll go through to about mid-August, and then we will be starting off the fall with a bang. And I'm not going to tell you any more, except on the last 2 Sundays of August, we're going to all gather together both of those Sundays for breakfast and some special storytelling events, which is going to be so much fun to start the fall schedule. The children literally go back to fall Sunday school on the 16th of August because school is just starting earlier and earlier and earlier. So those families are already going to be getting into the routine of summer Sunday school. So we thought this would be a fun way to start so that we could begin fall classes on the 13th, right? Yes.
Well, I just wanted to say that contemplative Christianity will also begin on the
Right,
31st of May.
it will, yeah, both classes
Even
will
though our
start
book review that we're doing together doesn't begin until
Till-
you get back from Europe.
until I get back from Europe, that's right. So, with lots of good offerings. I know y'all need to go ahead and do your thing, so I'm gonna get ready for worship. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy, of course, as always. So I think Stacy's going to work up. She's going to be one of those people that they'll be moving her desk out and she'll be working.
Maybe.
So the first question is, I would like to get in touch with a friend or confidant or mentor that I most associate with. And how many have answers that talk about from way back when you were in school? Anybody? There's a few. After school, anytime after school, like work, whatever. Post-education. Church activities. You like to get in touch with a friend. Anything else? Nobody's getting in touch with anybody. No. Did everybody answer E? Nobody? You're missing the whole point. Huh? D. You got the D? What do you have?
Other.
Oh, you just somebody else. Oh, you didn't fill in the blank. You just said other. There's a lot of D's and others. Okay. Yeah, there is no blank. I did this in a little bit of a hurry. Okay. I would like to travel to this special place. Any places that are far away? Italy, Asia, Alaska. What do you say? Japan. Holy Land. Costa Rica. Rockport. Go fishing. Pardon? Oh, the rainforest. Those are all good places.
This one says my home.
You don't have to travel far. Okay, number 3. I may seek forgiveness from or forgive a person who lives X miles from Austin. 2,000.
1,400.
1,400. 150. 75. 10. They're all over. I know it's an interesting question how you do that long distance. You know, I think it's hard to do.
Zoom call.
Yeah, on Zoom. I guess you could. Yeah. Okay, number 4. I will try this one thing that I have always longed to do. What? Mountain climbing. That's cool. Go to Europe. Scuba dive. See, these are all ways to kind of get in touch with who you are and what you want to do. If you know, should you choose one. Pardon?
Start my own business.
Oh, wonderful. That's cool. Number 5, on occasion I thought I could do some volunteer work that relates to, you know, like child care.
Babies.
Babies?
Babies.
You said babies? Babies, child care, babies.
Pregnant addicts.
What's it? What?
Pregnant addicts.
Pregnant addicts. Okay.
Planning processes.
What? No, planning processes. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's yeah. Any others? Education. Homelessness. Animals. You know, it's interesting because none of this stuff is like, I want to go out and make another $1 million or anything like that, or whatever you want to do. Okay, number 6. If I were, or $1 million, however you want to say. If I were to write my own obituary or eulogy, I would describe the following 3 things that are most important to me. And the reason I thought about this is I think I am going to write my own obituary, because I've seen I like all the obituaries, they're always good, but I don't necessarily want to focus on, what a star lawyer I was. Who cares, which I wasn't, but it was.
So smart, I get it.
But I want to focus. I want to write it about.
Editorial control.
I want editorial control.
Love it.
Anything else that what three things show up?
Faith, family, and friends.
Faith, family, and friends.
Love, giving.
Family, love, giving. I think those are really good. That's kind of what I'm wanting to do. If you had the attention of the entire country and could broadcast one invaluable piece of advice, what would it be? Not political, please, but what would it be?
Hurt people, hurt people. I love that.
Hurt people, yeah.
Do everything in love.
Do everything in love. Be kind. Good. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, right? And if they ever do another class on elder topics, what topics might interest you? What have people said?
I like the topic that Becky spoke on today.
I'm sorry, I'll come back. What do you say?
I like the topic that Becky spoke on today, where she's finding comfort in contemplative meditation and exercise,
Yeah,
which helps to put the present moment in perspective, which is really what we need as older people.
yep, I agree.
So I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
This was good, writing about, writing a book, memoir, obituary, saying goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those are good. Anything else? No? And this is just sort of an idea that how you can free up time to do this stuff. If I can reduce the time I spend daily on social media by how many hours? 5, 10, 20, 18? Huh? Zero for. Zero for Bob. I'm sorry, I didn't come back to you. You were saying.
This was about, elder topics.
Yeah.
I don't know, you choose.
Okay. Okay. Well, we had a few words with Stacy, and I'll collect all these up. Hopefully, some people wrote some things on the back for Stacy. I thought she might appreciate that, and that's it for now. And so let us.
I miss you, Phil.
Oh, wait, this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it, so hopefully you all did.